What are the traditional methods of motivating people and what problems do they have? What is the third type of motivation besides basic needs and rewards or punishments? And how can we use this third type of motivation to better motivate ourselves and others? Welcome to Daily Book Dive. Today, we are going to discuss a book called Drive: The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us by Daniel Pink.
Daniel Pink is recognized as one of the world's 50 most influential business thinkers. He has written speeches for former U.S. Vice President Al Gore and the White House administration. He also contributes to renowned publications like the New York Times and Harvard Business Review. Pink gained widespread recognition from his TED Talk on The Puzzle of Human Motivation, which became one of the top 20 most popular TED Talks. Before we dive in, please click on the subscribe button below to stay updated and support Daily Book Dive. The concept of drive we're discussing revolves around human motivation, specifically what drives human behavior. Alternatively, how can we stimulate others' enthusiasm? For instance, how can a boss motivate employees to work better? How can parents encourage children to study more effectively? And how can we motivate ourselves to start our own business? Daniel Pink is deeply interested in this question, so he spent considerable time researching it. He reviewed all social science research on motivation from the past 40 years, which culminated in this book. Today, we'll cover 3 main points about the book Drive. First, what are the traditional methods of motivating people and what problems do they have? Second, what is the third drive according to the author? Third, how can we harness this third drive? Let's start discussing these points one by one. Part 1. Traditional motivation methods. First, let's talk about traditional methods of motivating people. Simply put, it's about clear rewards and punishments. For example, if you're a parent and want to encourage your child to study more, you might say, if you score 90 on this test, I'll reward you with $200 to buy whatever you want. This reward can significantly motivate the child to study. Similarly, many companies implement a punch-in system where employees are fined for being late, thereby motivating them to be punctual. However, are rewards and punishments always effective? In his book, the author discusses an experiment where scientists divided a group of children into 3 groups and let them draw freely. The first group was told they would receive a certificate if they finished their drawing. The second group was asked if they wanted to draw and received a certificate only if they did, but they weren't informed beforehand. And the third group didn't receive any certificate regardless of whether they drew or not. After 2 weeks, the researchers observed that the children who weren't expecting a reward or had no reward were still happy drawing, while the first group, which initially had the incentive, spent less time drawing. This counterintuitive result suggests that rewards can sometimes have a negative effect, reducing intrinsic motivation over time. Punishments can also backfire. For instance, with strict attendance policies, employees might initially avoid being late to avoid fines. However, if they are late once or twice, they might start thinking that as long as they pay the fine, it's not a big deal, thus reducing their intrinsic motivation to be punctual. The traditional carrot-and-stick approach assumes that people are inherently lazy and lack initiative. Therefore, they need external rewards or threats to motivate them. This approach can be effective for simple, repetitive tasks, but often fails for tasks requiring creativity, knowledge, and full engagement. As our society transitions from an agricultural and industrial economy to an information and knowledge economy, relying on the carrot-and-stick method to motivate people might be misplaced. Part 2. The third drive. In the new era, what truly motivates people? The answer lies in the third drive discovered by the author. Besides the first drive, biological needs like hunger and thirst, and the second drive, external rewards and punishments, there is a third drive, intrinsic motivation. This concept is illustrated by an experiment conducted by psychologist Harry Harlow at the University of Wisconsin. He placed monkeys in a cage with a simple mechanical puzzle. Without any rewards or punishments, the monkeys were eager to solve the puzzle, showing focused attention and enjoyment. Harlow proposed that the monkeys were driven by an intrinsic reward, the joy of solving the puzzle itself. This drive to complete a task, because it is enjoyable, is the essence of intrinsic motivation. This phenomenon is common in our lives. For example, Wikipedia was created by volunteers who received no pay but contributed because they found the work rewarding. This intrinsic motivation, not external incentives, drove Wikipedia's success, surpassing even well-funded projects like Microsoft's encyclopedia. According to the author, when we harness the third drive, we can take charge of our lives, continuously learn, and strive to improve the world. This intrinsic motivation can be activated under the right conditions: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Part 3. Activating the third drive. How can we activate this third drive? It requires certain external conditions to stimulate intrinsic motivation. We need an environment that fosters autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy. People need the freedom to make their own choices. Traditional methods assume that freedom leads to irresponsibility, but intrinsic motivation suggests that people are willing to take responsibility for what they care about. For example, a company allowed some employees to work without a fixed schedule as long as they completed their tasks. This freedom led to higher productivity and satisfaction, showing that autonomy can enhance creativity and efficiency. What kind of environment can better stimulate autonomy? The author suggests that the ability to decide what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and who to do it with is crucial. For instance, 3M Company in the 20th century allowed its technical staff to spend 15% of their time on projects of their choice. This freedom led to significant innovations like the Post-it note. Google also encourages its engineers to spend 20% of their time on personal projects, resulting in popular products like Gmail and Google Translate. Mastery. This involves the desire to improve and excel. Tasks should be neither too easy nor too difficult. The concept of flow, where challenge and skill are balanced, is key to achieving mastery. For example, video games often balance difficulty to keep players engaged, a principle that can be applied to work tasks to maintain motivation and focus. Creating a flow state requires tasks that are slightly challenging but achievable. Companies like Microsoft and Toyota have integrated this understanding into their work environments. In Sweden, a logistics company adjusted employees' workloads to create flow states, resulting in significant productivity gains. Mark Twain, in his book The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, tells a story where Tom was assigned the boring task of painting a fence by his aunt. When his friends saw him, ready to make fun of him, Tom had a quick idea. He said, "Why are you laughing at me? Painting is not a chore, it's a privilege. You don't even have the right to paint this fence." His friends then found the task intriguing and asked if they could paint a little. Tom replied, "No, this is my privilege." Eventually, one friend offered his apple in exchange for a chance to paint. Tom allowed him to paint only after receiving the apple. What was originally a tedious task of painting a fence turned into an engaging activity with his friends, which boosted their enthusiasm. They finished the task quickly and enjoyably. Tom Sawyer's method can be applied to real life. Business professors Amy and Jane discovered that hospital cleaners found their jobs monotonous as they had to clean the same messes every day. However, redesigning their tasks made the job more interesting. For example, allowing cleaners to chat with patients or assist nurses during their rounds adding tasks that slightly exceeded their previous experience but were manageable after learning new skills, greatly enriched their job content. This gave them a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, motivating them to learn new skills. It made their work feel like a game, as they never knew what interesting scenarios they might encounter next. Even in jobs with low autonomy, designing playful elements can boost employees' enthusiasm and intrinsic motivation. Thus, by creating tasks that are neither too easy nor too hard, we can foster a state of mastery. Purpose. People are motivated by goals that go beyond personal gain. Intrinsic goals like helping others or improving the world provide long-term motivation. For instance, people who pursue altruistic goals are more likely to sustain their motivation and find fulfillment, compared to those driven by external rewards. Setting a clear and meaningful goal is essential. The author emphasizes that goals should align with one's internal values and passions, surpassing mere material or status objectives. This shift from if-then goals, for example, if I make $1 million, I'll be happy, to now that goals, for example, now that I love helping people, I'll dedicate myself to this cause, can significantly enhance intrinsic motivation. In summary, drive highlights that we are driven not just by external incentives or basic needs, but also by a natural desire to direct our own lives, learn, and create. To unlock this potential, we need environments that provide autonomy, opportunities for mastery, and meaningful goals. By understanding and leveraging these intrinsic motivators, we can achieve greater engagement and satisfaction in both work and life. That's the essence of this book. The original book link is attached at the end for further reading. You can also click the share button below the video to share this book with your friends. Congratulations, you've just finished another book.